There is a place where night is forever. The stars sparkle permanently above, accompanying the moon while he smiles down upon the land. And on this land lived a girl called Diana, and she loved nothing more than the stars that cover the night sky, in love with each constellation, and making up her own from patterns no one else had seemed to spot. She happened to come across a wishing well one night, and knelt by it, her eyes fixed on the brightest star above, the North Star. She wished in her heart that she could see a star for herself, without the endless night sky separating them. When nothing happened, her heart felt heavy as she stood and left, returning to her lonely life among the thick woodland. Months later, the full moon made its journey across the sky, and everything perfectly aligned. The well was filled with celestial magic, and, unknown to her, the wish came to be. Diana had traveled for months away from the well when her wish was finally granted, and so she was unprepared when she came face to face with the North Star. The two stared at each other, both of them lost in the eyes of a creature they had never encountered before, and finally they spoke to one another. The star told Diana that her name was Sura, that she was ripped from her home in the heavens in a flash of light, and Diana realized what had happened. She was determined to put things right, and the two traveled off into a nearby town to ask someone who knew more about magic than they did, and how they could return Sura to her home. In the town, they found an old library advertising books about magic within, and when they entered, the shop owner told them all about the legends of the well, and explained that they must find their way back to it as the moon aligns correctly again. Only in those conditions would Sura be able to return. They gave their thanks and set off again, realizing how tired they were. They found an inn to stay in for the sleeping hours and, despite their exhaustion, spent most of their time talking and growing closer, eventually falling deeply in love with one another. After their rest, they began their journey once more, eventually coming to a stretch of ocean Diana had crossed a few weeks before meeting Sura. The sea appeared oddly empty though, and they asked a nearby crew if they could come with them on their boat so they could reach the land beyond, where the whale sat waiting. The crew laughed a little, and the captain explained to them that without the North Star in the sky, there was little they could do to navigate the waters. Proudly, Sura stepped forward and offered her help. Although no longer in the sky, her sense of direction was incredible, and she led the crew through the waters. After reaching the other side, the two confessed their feelings to each other, and Sura told Diana that she wanted to stay and live with her more than anything in the world. The two set up a home for themselves in a forest clearing nearby, and spent a long, happy time with one another. But Diana knew it wasn't all as it seemed. She would find Sura gazing up at the stars from their window, missing her true home. Meanwhile, she would see stories of people and creatures lost to the sea or the land without the North Star to guide them. She knew she had to say goodbye to her soulmate. The next day, the two set off to the well and found it not far from their forest home. They spoke their last words to one another, and Sura was gone, just as she arrived, in a blinding flash of magic. Now, Diana replaces Sura at the window, gazing up at her lost love, knowing her life was better for knowing her, loving her, and trusting her. Diana was never alone again.